Good morning, folks. Welcome to my channel. My name's Joe. If you looked at the heading, you'll see it's really Joe Heck, but Joe's good enough. This is probably my next project. It's a portable light tower. The old style. I think I must have the lights inside it. They're the old. They're not LED. They're the old quartz or mercury vapor lights. Big monsters, heavy. I bought this probably 5 years ago. Didn't pay a lot. I thought I had a seller. Then it turned out that the engine, although I got it running, it then quickly started spewing water out of the exhaust and quit. It turns out the exhaust on it was run straight up. No drain for the rainwater, so of course the engine got a lot of water in it. So the engine's been sitting in my house in the basement, partially torn apart for a few years. So the challenge is going to be, number one, can I find all the parts? And number two, do I know how to put it back together? And number three, more importantly, can I even finish taking it apart? I've gotten to the flywheel on it, and it's got this huge nut or bolt. It's 1 7/8 inches or so across the faces, and I don't have a socket for it. I was going to maybe use a plasma cutter and make up a wrench, but we'll see. That's all when I get down into the basement. I'm in my storage area here, so I thought I'd start with this. And it's an odd engine. I mean, it's old. It's probably like a Lister or some odd diesel. I think it's a 2-stroke. And I looked on eBay and I can replace it for like $200 or less with just a cheap Chinese diesel. It probably doesn't have the staying power, that's for sure. So we'll see. And it is heavy. I mean, heavy. I can barely lift it off the cart. So we'll see. On to the basement. Now we're downstairs, and this is the engine out of the light tower. It's been in this condition probably about 4 or 5 years. I just haven't gotten back to it. And, you know, it's guess that's the pump. I have to be careful of that. And the dipstick, if I'm going to stick it up on end. The pump and the dipstick. So, this is most of it. The oil pan is over here. The rest of this is out in my garage, my lower garage. Another workshop area, mostly storage, and the generator that goes on it's out there as well. So it's just, what do I want to tackle on this? Because it had water in it, I really would like to get down to the crank and the connecting rod and the cylinder, and I am going to attempt to take this apart. But I'm going to show you the problem, where my problem lies. So, bear with me. Now I have it in its proper orientation. And you can see all the way around. So this is an output shaft. But I actually think the generator was hung on the other end. Starter, of course. So my concern is I wanted to take this off to get to the crank. which means pull this flywheel. But I don't have a socket for this, so that's where I am. That's my step. I have to decide what to do with this. I mean, I can pull all the top stuff off, but I think I want to start on the bottom so that I don't forget how things go. This is the easy part, although I may have already forgotten how things go. It looks like they painted over a couple of stickers here. This one was peeled off. This one's still here. I might try to recover that, but I don't see any good use for that. It's certainly old. I don't know. Well, I see I can clean this. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to try to clean that. I've got that so you can read it pretty good. It looks like the output and what revolutions per minute are gone. But maybe I can find more information on this someplace to tell what the model number is. Maybe that is enough. So I'm going to, as I said, I'll try one more thing, and that's to take and clean this off. This I'm sure is just for the fuel pump. Hello, well, I'll do this again. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. So I'm going to interject this right into the video in this spot because I did take that number, which I thought was sort of a serial number, which really is more a model number, and I was able to look up some Lister websites. It's from around 1985. I think it might be December 1984, somewhere's around there. So that's good to know. It's also an LT1 engine, which is part of that string. There's some other stuff in the middle that I didn't really care about, but then I was able to go look for LT1 manuals and found quite a bit online. So I am going to be in good shape to finish taking this apart, to have the specs and clearances and all the rest of that. So just to let you know that, boy, there is quite a bit of data out there for Listers and Lister Petters or Pettigill or something. There's another one that's a blend. Alright, so back to the video. I'm going to say that this yellow down here is the original because that's the cast iron. This is the original. It looks like this was repainted, but they taped over something up here. So I'm going to try to get that off of there. Haven't decided how yet. I tried to peel it, but it's not doing very well. I'm hoping there's a model or name under there. I don't know why they taped over it or if it's taped over. Maybe I'll use some more of my Marvel stuff and see if I can't get the paint off of this. I'm using my vandal mark remover, and I've sprayed this about 30 times and wiped it off, and I'm just getting down to getting some of this paint off. I looked at this and I thought it was more of a sticker than a piece of tape covering something, so I stopped peeling it. So I'm going to try to get down here, and hopefully there's actually some information in there that I can recover without destroying it with my vandal mark remover. Well, this is interesting. I saw a little bit of black mark logo underneath this, so I wiped it again, and I was getting ready to try to use a pick on it, and it looks like the paint is actually peeling off. So I'm going to be really careful. I don't want to get rid of whatever's underneath there. It did not provide me with any additional information for identifying the motor. What it did do is tell me what I need to use for oil depending on the temperature, 30, 20, 10, or 5 weight, and the temperature ranges. So, well, it is what it is. So yeah, they had just painted right over that. And then the sticker that was here, oh, I don't know. It says something. Pull. I don't want to take too much off here. Pull and turn. Well, maybe I can loosen this up a little with my vandal remover too. We'll see. Well, I actually sprayed a little too much on here. I'm starting to take the ink off, so I have to, just gonna have to leave that now. Maybe blot that so it's dry. But the other one, so I blotted that, and the other one is start, run, and stop, and I'm supposed to pull and turn something. But there's nothing down there, so I don't know if it was on the end, or if they really mean this piece up here. I don't know. I'll have to find out. Or this piece. It almost looks like it's supposed to be this piece. But this piece is fixed. This is for speed. It's set to a certain speed, and that's it. Or this one. I don't know. I haven't figured out what they're talking about yet. There's a notch there. There's a notch up there. Oh, you have to pull. Oh, okay. So they're talking about this knob here, pull and turn. So that's fine. Okay, well, whatever that means. I'm going to go now on the Bridgeport. I didn't get there yet. So I've got this nut to take off, and I think what I can do is I can take and figure out on this to make a hex on the Bridgeport, and then I'll figure out how to attach to this and bring that up. Put some big bolts in, put another plate on it. I don't know yet. Well, what I did is I found a piece of cardboard and used a hammer and tapped it out just as if I was doing a gasket. So now I have a really tight fit, and it turns out that there is not much metal to take out of this. Holy mackerel. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I guess it's onto the Bridgeport. I've made up a quick and dirty wrench. I cut essentially a hex in here. It's a little loose. Then I, just for grins, I put bolts and nuts all the way up. I thought I might put a bar in between here and twist. But then this 2-foot wrench, went in there, or not 2 foot, this is probably 16 inch. I have a 24, but I thought I'd try this. Well, this works pretty good, except now, when I put it on, if I can put it on with one hand, I usually use my camera stand, but now I'm turning the engine. So what I have to do, and I think I have to move I've got to move this wrench out a little. This isn't fitting square, so I have a little extra here. So I'll move this wrench out a little. Maybe, I don't know where I'll have to flip it up on its bottom again and put something in the well, no, I guess I could lock something in here. I've got bolt holes. You know, I've got bolt holes here. Yeah, you can see them. So maybe if I put a couple bolts back in, tie it with a bolt from here to here, say. All right, we'll give that a shot. Well, I was attempting to lock this flywheel down, and Lister, I think it's British, but I didn't know if it was going to be imperial or metric. And these threads here, these threads right here, well, a 3/8 16 threads into those really fine. They may be metric, but I'm pretty sure that this guy in here, the only thing I can get in there is I think it's an M6. I have to look, but oops. I have to take a look, see. Let's try to focus closer. So I'll have to see what I have here. But I'm afraid if I put something in there that small and try to hold it, keep the flywheel from turning, that I may just snap that off in there, and that would be a little bit of a mess. I'll have to think about it a little bit. Success! I didn't know if it was left-handed or right-handed thread. It turns out to be right-handed, which was good. So all I did was stick this on there, stick my wrench on there, and use just a mallet. I tapped it in a good part of the wrench. I didn't want to smash any of this, so I whacked this a few times, and it loosened right up. So that's a good thing. So on to the next step, which is to try to get this flywheel out. Wow, that's one long bolt. And I don't know if this is... I thought that was a washer because it was green and the rest of it isn't. But in fact, it really looks like it's part of it. So now I can put some bolts in this. And I've got, well, they're bigger than that. They're bigger than 3/8. I can put a flywheel, a wheel puller on that, see how it comes off. Here's where we're at. These bolt holes, a 7/16 bolt fits awfully loose in them. They're not 7/16, but a 1/2 inch won't start. So I'm suspecting these also are metric, as probably the whole engine is. So I'm going to have to see if I can scare up some metric bolts for my puller. And I'm also going to see what I can find on this engine online. In the blink of an eye, we've moved ahead about 24 hours. I made a trip to the big orange box store. Picked up 3 bolts. So now I can try to see if I've got a... Boy, I don't know why this is so jumpy. Must be trying to focus or something. I have to see if one of my pullers will fit across those 3 bolt holes. 1, 2, 3. The Lister manual shows you can purchase a special puller for it. But more importantly, they have, once you get this free, there's a dowel that sticks in the middle, so this will come out straight and you won't chip any teeth or anything. So I think I'm going to try to get this free. And once it starts moving, I might turn a dowel. I won't put threads on it that fit in there. I don't really want to try to turn those metric threads. I will, however, use a piece of metal, piece of dowel, and turn it so that it just slides in snug and then has this outer diameter on it. So that's what I'm going to shoot for. So let me go look through my wheel pullers or gear pullers. Just a little update. I went through all my pullers, and the problems that I have, not really any of the ones I wanted to use work. This one here, this set, is for a 2-bolt system, and I need 3. These are all 3-bolt systems, but none of them have big enough tangs. That one doesn't have cutouts for bolts at all. This one does not. This one does, but they're too small. That's certainly too tiny. Looks more like a battery post puller, and that's too tiny. This one would be perfect, except these slots aren't big enough. Now I could go over to the lathe, not the lathe, the Bridgeport, mill those out a little. I don't need a lot, but I thought I'd see if I had something already made up. And sure enough, I have something that's overkill. This monster. It's big, but it holds the bolts. I just have to get a post in here, and it's somewhat awkward to deal with. These things don't like to stay where they're supposed to be to make the triangle. But I think once I get it in place, we're all set. So now I'm going to see if I can find a piece to fit between there and there. Maybe I'll back this out and see how it goes, and decide if I'm even going to try to use. And I got to say this because this is to take my big hex nut off. Which fits pretty good. It catches 5 of the 6 pretty well. So maybe I'm not going to fill this in. I was thinking of filling this in. But I do have to change it on the back side to accept a 1/2-inch torque wrench. So I'll probably put a plate on here. Well, not on this side, of course. I'll probably bolt a plate on here and find something that I can use for a 1/2 inch. But that's a little ways down the road yet. We're not there. So bear with me. I'm going to see if I can find something that actually will work here. Well, as luck would have it, I was scrounging around through all my miscellaneous bar stock. Came across this piece of shaft. Almost looks like it was cut off. And if I did cut that edge off, or it's sheared, I'm going to assume, bad choice, that this piece here is a little softer than the outside. This is probably hardened or case hardened or something. So I'm going to try to take this and put a center drill into it. And we'll see if that's going to work. because I need to be able to center that puller. And it is cutting, so, and reasonably well. So I'm going to say I didn't have to worry about it being hardened. And that should be good enough. It's got a nice center in it. So success on that part. Well, I've got the shaft in here. I've got this puller not quite square. I mean, these should be equidistant around. That looks like that's about equidistant. And now I've got to put a wrench on here. And let's see if it moves anything. Alright, I've set you up in the stand. So you're not going to bounce around. I have two hands free. And we'll start with a 1 inch, not 1 inch, a 12 inch. Ooh. That. Wow, now I can really lay into that. And hope nothing breaks. It's loose. Wow. Okay, that was good. Wow, that is really close tolerances on this outside edge. Wow, that sucker is heavy. That's probably half the weight of the engine. If I read it correctly, it's like 190 pounds for this engine. I don't think it's kilos, but well, I have a 50-pound scale here. I'm wondering, I'll bet that flattens the scale. It's right around there. I'm trying to think what a 80-pound bag or a 40-pound bag of concrete is like. And this is right in between them. But that came out. All right. So now I have to see what I'm up against for the rest of it. Gives me a good chance to clean out all this crud. I cleaned this up a little bit. The more I got into it, the more I wasn't happy with this surface. There's something that clamps on here all the way around. I'd have to go look see, but I don't really care at this point. So I got done cleaning it with my vandal remover, which really is vandal remover. I could have used acetone or something else to clean this up. And it did a very good job, but there's this nice yellow paint, and then there's some green. And it almost looked like someone spray painted something green with this in one place, because all the drip marks came down this way and actually dripped out over the edge. So number one, that's not good for balance because there is a balance hole here. But number two, I don't know how well whatever goes on here would clamp back down. So I decided to get rid of most everything inside these marks. I mean outside these marks. So I cleaned it up with the remover. Then I used a putty knife. Then I used the razor blade. And then finally, which a lot of people don't recommend, you never do this, but I went around with my file and cleaned up any high spots very lightly. So now this side looks pretty good. So I'm going to stand it up on edge and see if I need to clean this. There's some of that green paint. Oh, I did use a wire brush too. I didn't mention that. So I think doing this with a wire brush is sufficient. Alright, I skipped through a bunch of that edge. But now I'm going to clean this, and I'm just going to shut off the camera because it'll be the same tools, wire brush, file, razor blade, and putty knife. And maybe some vandal remover. This is inside the engine, probably doesn't matter. Well, you can't see it and I can barely see it, but it right in here I think was a part number. And I don't need it, but it's interesting that it's there. More importantly, someone has scribed a line here and punched in TDC, which is top dead center, I'm betting. So this has been a part before. So I don't know what I'm going to encounter. I guess I should have thought that, since it had a fresh paint job which covered up these labels. Fresh paint job, a second paint job. So now I'm going to clean the last little bit of this out here and then go into the depths. Now it's take this piece off. And it's 2 bolts up there. And then I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside, but they have a little clip on them. So I got to bend the clip down and put a wrench on these. I don't think I'm going to fire up the air compressor. I'm just going to use a ratchet on them. And I was wondering why that was... Okay, there's a... That must be for airflow. There's 2 screws up here, but that just holds a vane inside here for the fan, I guess. All right, I'll come back. You don't need to see me doing mechanical stuff like that. Well, it's getting down to something manageable now. I took that cover off. It had these 5 that I said. It had a small one here that I missed. And it had these 2. And there's the cover. I'm going to clean it a little. I haven't decided how much is a little. Probably going to clean it enough to give this thing a good coat of paint, make it look nice. I have to sell it. But that piece is aluminum or magnesium. It's awfully light, so I was surprised by that. Okay, clean time, some more. Put you back to sleep. Well, I spent quite a bit of time on this on the outside, and I'm not totally satisfied. I didn't do this side at all. I only ended up doing the other side and mostly around the edge, and the inside is filthy too. So I think I'm going to look at the weather and maybe take that if we find a day that's at least above 36 or 37, and I'll hook up the hose and the pressure washer, and I'll get the worst of it done. Try to clean up some of this stuff, because it's awful. And if I wasn't going to repaint it, then it wouldn't matter so much. But I'm going to try to repaint it, I think. I may change my mind, but we'll see. Here we are. Balmy 38 degrees. Took me an hour to take the hoses, thaw them out. They get a whole bunch of ice. Then I had to use a little starting fluid in the spark plug hole for my pressure washer. Just a little too cold. So now I'm going to set you guys up, and you can watch me pressure wash this stuff. All right, I'm officially wet and cold. I have to shut off the water, drain the hose. That one still needs to be drained. Whew. So there we have it. I hope I recorded all that. Okay, well, don't mind me, I'm a little out of breath. That's what happens when you don't do your exercises and keep in shape. But I was looking at the clock, so it took me 2 hours between prep time, thawing out the hose. Oh, I still have a hose outside I have to hang up when it finishes thawing out. Breaking it all down, bringing it back in to do these 3 pieces. This is the bottom sump. And yeah, there's still grease on it, but now at least it's manageable grease. I can clean that off with a little bit of paint thinner maybe and get it nice and good. I am going to have to worry about painting that aluminum. I know aluminum needs prep work. Haven't decided yet. And yeah, this guy still has grease on him. But this will all rub off pretty good, except for in here. I missed that. But boy, for the most part, and this is going to need a sanding wheel, I think. This is really taped on there. I had a putty knife. Oh, I guess it'll come off with a putty knife. Well, pressure washing isn't perfect, especially if you don't use a degreaser ahead of time. But, you know, in 38-degree weather, I wasn't going to complain. I got an awful lot off of what I needed to get off. So, on to the next step. I'm probably not going to make it much cleaner until I start putting it together. Because there's always going to be more dirt someplace. But I think next is to pull this side cover, and see what's holding the crank in. Pull the piston, pull the cylinder off, I guess. I'm at odds there. I may push the piston down, see what the walls look like. If the walls look good, I'll leave it alone. If the bearings, if I pull the caps off, the main and rod bearings, bushings, if they look good, I'm just going to put them right back on again. I'm just worried about if the water did any scoring. So, and in fact, maybe I'm only going to pull one end, this end here, and if that bushing looks good, I'll probably leave the other one, because the other one I think really was supposed to have an oil bath in it, although maybe that feeds the motor. Well, at any rate, I'll look at one of them and make a decision from there. So that's it, I think, for today. I'm out of energy. See you in a blink of an eye, I guess. This is definitely the end of this video, and it might be the end of the series. We got probably off to a bad start here, but I don't know if you can see that journal, and then up top is the cam, which is all rusted, and this here is after I cleaned it up. So I don't know. if the parts are available or if I want to get into it for that much. I have yet to look at the bearing that's under here. I have to go look at the manual and see how to get to that. Nor the one that's on the other side, which is a big one up there. So we'll see. The other issue is this thing says 4.5 on the side. Well, it said it someplace. Pretty sure I said it on here. On focus. Alright, well, it says 45 on it, whatever that means. So it's pretty beat up. It didn't spin. And the cross hatching is in the cap, so that's okay. But this bearing is really beat up. So we'll see. I think I'll end up tearing it all apart. And the next video is if I decide to rebuild it, which I really should. You'll see it all torn apart down to the other two bearings. I'll try to pull this cam out, which is also another interesting deal. Got the governor on it here. And this rod has to come out, but boy, I don't know if it's pressed in or what. It's that I don't know what to do about that. So I think that's it for now. I was really hoping for better results, but not expecting them. So we'll go from there. All right, well, if you like it, I'll say it right here because I really don't think I'm going to add to this. We're already up to about 45 minutes of video. I can tell you that it does turn over. Well, I can turn it over all the way so it's not hung up anywhere. But I was really hoping to get away with just getting the water out and cleaning up the bearings or bushings or whatever, cleaning up the journals. I have yet to look at that journal. Maybe I'll do that quick. Well, I'll try not to get a shadow in there, but you can see it cleaned up pretty well. There are some small pits in it that I'm hoping don't affect it too much. No lines, no major scores going around. It feels pretty good. So I'm probably gonna just clean this up really good. Take it out, clean it up. Just put some new bearings in. I guess I'm gonna have to mic it though and see if something is oversized or undersized. I don't know what that 45 is. I'll find out soon enough, I guess. So if anybody knows about these LT1 engines, drop me a comment. See if you have any ideas, if you've been through them before. It'd be nice to know if that 45 means anything. How bad my crank has to be. I mean, I can take it out and polish that up pretty good, I think. How to get this governor apart without destroying everything. And that's the big stuff. So thanks for watching. If you enjoy it and you know people that might, go ahead and share it, please. Nice to have more people watch this stuff. As I keep saying, I'm not in this because I want to produce videos. I want to let other people know how the handy guy at home tries to deal with this. Maybe not your normal guy. I've been told it's not normal. So like it, comment, share, subscribe, whatever. Thanks for watching. And hope to see you on the next one.